Hello, American History 2 students. Mr. Bell, glad to be with you. So, this is going to be a populism review. If you want to follow along in your notes, if you have them, that is going to be section 1.3, American History 2 1.3. Going to start out here with a warm up. Again, this is just all review, nothing required here, so I'm not looking for you to answer this and share it with me or anything. So, this would have been day 130 of school. If we were in school, it is day 4, as you see, of the COVID shutdown. So, and today, this is being recorded on Thursday, March 19th, 2020. Who was Henry Cabot Lodge? He was the Republican senator who, from Massachusetts, who opposed Woodrow Wilson, and he really pushed for the United States to join the League of Nations post World War One. He was irate that the U.S. would not be a part of this international peacekeeping organization. He also wanted to punish Germany for their wrongdoings post World War I, whereas Woodrow Wilson did not. Wilson was right. Herbert Hoover, he ran the Food Administration, which is ironic because while he fed soldiers during World War I, he unfortunately let people starve during the Great Depression. J. Edgar Hoover, he is, excuse me there, as I messed this up. J. Edgar Hoover is the creator of the FBI. He also led the Palmer raids, rounding up suspected communists and getting them out of the United States. Wiretapping, fingerprints, all that stuff. This is stuff we covered right before the shutdown in class. Alfred T. Mahan, the influence of sea power on history. And we know that he was the one who pushed the United States to have the strongest navy in the world, which is the staple of any dominant world empire, as he lays out in his book as he goes through those in history. So there's your warm up for today. So let's get into our review lesson for today, which is going to be the rise and fall of populism. So populism is putting the people first in your politics, creating a platform around the people instead of relying on people to adapt to your platform. This notion was really created by William Jennings Bryan, who ran for president twice, once as a populist and once as a Democrat. And it was based on giving the farmers out west rights post-Civil War. And as the railroads were being built, specifically the transcontinental railroads, they were benefiting big business, but they were ripping off farmers. And farmers were being asked to overpay, and many of them were losing their farms, losing their homes. So populism is all about, as a politician, standing up for the people. And this became kind of a staple in politics moving forward. You see that in today's politics with Bernie Sanders. You see it with Donald Trump. They have different philosophies on putting the people first, but that is what they try to cater their message toward. So, if you remember from civics, a platform is what a party believes, and planks are the individual beliefs for a party platform. So here, the planks for the Populist Party would be the free coinage of silver. They wanted silver to be able to back up the U.S. dollar in addition to gold. Regulate the railroad. Make sure that farmers were not being ripped off and being asked to pay as much as big businesses. Graduated income tax, or a progressive tax. The more you make, the more the government takes from you in taxes. Pretty standard now. Democrats do more of that than Republicans, but still, even when Republicans are in power, the rich generally end up paying more taxes. Not always, but most of the time. Don't allow aliens to own land. So if you are not a permanent U.S. citizen, you couldn't own land. It's not that they were extremely nativist, meaning they hated immigrants, but they did want to put restrictions on them. So each of these individual beliefs makes up the platform. That's what the party stands on. Again, we got 15 minutes here, so we're at about 5 here. William Jennings Bryan ran for president twice. He is from Nebraska, hence Omaha platform, Omaha, Nebraska. And he was all about building a coalition. Some of the people in his coalition that he built during this grassroots campaign, which means building from the ground up. You start small, you grow big. It starts with little money and then grows into a lot of money from a bunch of different people instead of big chunks of money from a select few donors. So he's probably one of the most significant politicians who never became president just because of introducing populism into mainstream politics. One of the people that supported him, one of the groups were prohibitionists, people who wanted to ban alcohol in the United States. The temperance movement, women who thought they were being abused by their husbands because of alcohol. And of course leads to the 18th Amendment getting rid of alcohol, and the 21st Amendment bringing it back. Cross of Gold. He gave this speech at the 1896 Democratic National Convention, accepting the party's nomination for president. He said, if America continues to put the rich first, it will crucify itself. That most of America is powered not by the wealthy, not by the poor, but most Americans are middle class. Now, that's a wide range. There's upper and lower middle class, but still middle class. The second in charge of the kind of Populist Party, or the second face of the Populist Party, was Mary Elizabeth Lease. She is what Elizabeth Warren is to Bernie Sanders, as far as Elizabeth Lease kind of is to William Jennings Bryan. Now, at this time, people weren't ready for a female leader in politics, let alone a female president, which unfortunately we still haven't had. But after William Jennings Bryan kind of gives up on the Populist Party because he knows it's a loser, he knows that this Republican and Democratic Party were in a clear two-party system, and tries to bring populism to the Democratic Party, she kind of takes up the mantle of the Populist Party, and she kind of becomes their de facto leader. So now again, she can't really do much because she's a woman in the late 1800s in politics. She can inspire, she can give speeches, she can rile people up to take action, and that's really about it. I mean, she is known as the Kansas Cyclone for her soaring rhetoric. She would come in, give speeches, get people fired up, and she would often invoke change as far as motivating people to speak up against banks, to speak up against the railroad, and organize and things of that nature. But she felt betrayed by William Jennings Bryan when he ditched the Populist Party. So, the silver. This is a kind of complicated thing. Silver was more common than gold, hence why silver is cheaper when you go to the jewelry store to buy it. But when it comes to silver in this context, we were at the gold standard at this time, meaning gold backed up the dollar. Every dollar was worth a certain weight in gold. People wanted out west, especially people who identified with the Populist Party, to be able to use silver to back up the dollar as well, because it would create more cash flow for farmers. And it would allow them to do things like get caught up on their mortgage payment or ship things on the railroad. Now, this is going to cause inflation, because if silver, in addition to gold, is being allowed to kind of back up the U.S. dollar, then you're going to have to print more dollars. And anytime you do, it creates inflation, meaning prices go up, which can destabilize the economy. We've went over the Populist platform. That's just a review of it here, and I'm going to upload this PowerPoint also to Canvas as well. So, how did this affect farmers who were the main constituents of the Populist Party? We had the first unions, and they were farmers' unions, and they were people who organized in the same line of work to try to get better rights for their workers. In this case, they wanted better shipping rights on the railroads. The Grange is the first really major union in the United States, and they led to what was called Granger laws in several states, in which railroads would try to, now it was kind of misleading as we can talk about later, but where railroads would they would push railroads to try and give fair prices. So you also had the Farmers Alliance. This was kind of a one that did not see as much success as the Grange, because it included both white and black farmers at a time post-Civil War where there was a lot of animosity between those two groups. So the Farmers Alliance failed. But we did get the Colored Farmers Alliance. Unfortunately, this is segregation, but it is kind of de facto segregation by societal choice, because they did attempt to do a integrated farmers union with the Farmers Alliance. So they are successful. They do a lot of good things for black farmers, and they are founded in Texas. Rebates. Rebates are something that are not as common today in society, but it is when you get money back after purchasing something. So, for example, you used to could go into Verizon, you would buy a $200 phone, but you would get a $150 mail-in rebate. So 2 weeks after you bought the phone, then what you got was this little card right here in the mail with $150 that you could spend anywhere. So I'm not a math expert, but let me just say that means you paid $50 for the phone. So what was the point of that? Phone companies like Verizon and AT&T make their money based on the service, not the phones. So if they can get you to sign up for their service by giving you a cheaper phone, they make more money off you in the long run. So how did this work on the railroad? It worked on the railroad because they made it look like they were charging big business more than they actually were. So they would jack up the price of a company to ship goods to $500, but they would give them a $400 mail-in rebate. And then they would charge the average farmer $300 to ship something. So let's think about that for a second. If you are a big business shipping something on the railroad, you pay $500, but you get a $400 rebate. You paid $100. Whereas you pay $300, so it looks like they lowered the price for you, but it's all artificial if you're an average farmer with no rebate. So who ends up paying more? Still the average farmer. We got a few more slides left in this review here, and I'm going to try to get through those as quickly as possible. Munn versus Illinois said that states would regulate activity within the state. As far as if we sell something from Charlotte to, say, Concord, North Carolina would regulate that. Wabash versus Illinois reinforced Gibbons versus Ogden, and it created the Interstate Commerce Act, which created the Interstate Commerce Commission. So here's what all that means. When you ship things from one state to another, say Charlotte, North Carolina to Los Angeles, California, since you're going between states, the federal and not the state governments would regulate it. So in that scenario I just gave you, it wouldn't be California, it wouldn't be North Carolina, it would be the United States government. And the commission here was used to make sure that those rules were being followed, that the U.S. was the one regulating interstate commerce, because previous laws, there was nobody to enforce them. So it's like having a speed limit with no state troopers out. Most people are going to ignore that speed limit. I apologize if I'm going fast. I got about 2 minutes here. Bimetallism was something that the populists wanted so that both gold and silver would back up the dollar. Greenbacks were what they called paper money. I just want to inform you that silver never backed up the U.S. dollar. So in that regard, the populists and the farmers out west didn't get what they wanted. If you have any questions about this review, please email me, bsbell@clevelandcountyschools.org. I will be posting this on Canvas here in a little bit. So what I'll probably do is I'll post the PowerPoint here for that unit, and below that I will post the video review. And all this stuff during this 2-week shutdown is going to be posted right here in all your classes. I will also email this to you. Please email me any questions. Please stay safe, stay healthy, wash your hands, don't shake hands. This is Mr. Bell, and I am out.